Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first Myth and Mayhem series. So, a little back history. The Myth and Mayhem series that I decided I wanted to do was to go a little in depth with a bunch of uh, mythology people. And I figured who would be the best for that besides me, who is already a myth in my own right. So, I figured I could go through every bit of uh, just mythology in general. And while I'm doing that, play a game that's connected to each of those myths. Today's, and probably for the first few segments, it was going to be Valheim because it's very deeply connected to Norse mythology, which I decided I wanted to start with. Since there's been a big uptick in Norse mythology, I'd say in the last, 2 or 3 years. So I figured, hey, let's do some Norse mythology. And we're gonna use Ariel. And we're gonna do it in Atlantis. Just gonna start a server. Just in case somebody wants to join in. So, as for the myth part of this, I'm starting with Odin. It seemed like the most logical, well known Norse mythologies you could think of. And today. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Hold on a second, guys. Okay, so I have put a link into our chat for worldhistory.org. If you ever have anything you're interested in, anything at all, they are an amazing source and have allowed me to use this video and their site to bring more knowledge to people. So, we are starting with Odin. In Norse mythology, Odin is seen as the wise one. He's like seen as this older, wise, one-eyed man. Um, he was generally called on during preparations of war. Um, he was also known as the god of poetry, dead, runes, and magic. So he had a lot of different things he was seen to be the god of. Hail warrior. Oops. Talk to Huggins. I am Huggins, sent here to guide you in your travels. The megaliths surrounding you are sacrificial stones. They represent the Forsaken, which you must slay in order to ascend to Valhalla. I forget how much Huggins talks in the beginning. Well met. These magical stones scattered throughout the lands by Odin, as signposts pointing towards the ritual grounds of the Forsaken. If inspected closer, this one will reveal the summoning place of Ethrir, your first prey. He is a mighty beast, so you need to properly arm yourself before attempting to defeat him. So let's get his thing on the map. Okay. So, back to Odin. He did have other variations. So he wasn't just Odin. In Germanic mythology, he was called Woden in Old English, Wodan with an Old Franconian, Wotan in High German. So he had a lot of different names for himself. And the day Wednesday is actually named after Odin. So, it's from Woden, and the name for Dutch Wednesday is Woensdag. It's really interesting to me that it's something I didn't know until I actually read it up, that Wednesday is named after Odin. In mythology, he helped create the world. He is a part of the creation of our existence. He lives in Asgard, which is the hall, I guess, where he gathers slain warriors. And the hall itself is called Valhalla. He does eventually die in mythology, and that death is by Fenrir, which we'll get into later. Let's see. Most items must be crafted, however, due to your recent departure from Midgard, which is the Earth, you will have to recall the true shape of objects. Just pick things up and it'll all come back to you, I'm sure. My lesser brother, Mudin, tells me one can fashion a stone axe out of wood and stone. Okay, so if I remember right, I don't remember what any of my settings are in this. Hey, look at that. Okay, there we go. So now I can make a stone axe. So, from what historians have been able to tell, Odin was the original character in Norse mythology. He was the first one that they've found to be of Norse mythology. This is just of what's known. Could there be others prior to him? Of course. But from what's known, he is the original Norse mythology character. You have found a snack. Consume it to improve your health and stamina. Be aware that before long you'll grow hungry again, so try to always have at least a couple of different meals ready. So let's remember how to open up the menu. There we go. And eat some mushrooms. Okay. Pegs. These things are dangerous. Yeah. I mean, to lower levels like myself. Leather scraps. They're also super essential though. Okay, so moving on. Odin was originally on an equal par with other people in Norse mythology when it was big. And he only became the Allfather after Christian influences. So he ended up with the parallels to the Christian God, where he was the Almighty, the Allfather, the All-Knowing. In the original Skaldic poetry, he started out with only 3 sons that were Baldur, Thor, and Vali. And then later on, other authors added Heimdall, Tyr, Bragi, Vidar, and Hodar. So in the older versions, he only had 3 children, and then later on, he had more sons. Which makes sense as you go along and you elaborate on stuff as needed. In the old poems, he starts out married to Frigg, and he's married to her the entire time. But it shows that his sons are from many different mothers. Kind of reminisce to Zeus's multiple affairs in Greek mythology. It's kind of a very common theme I've seen in mythology. So he was a war god, but he was never seen as a warrior like his son Thor was. Instead, he was called on at the preparations for war to be an advisor and to give special gifts. So, more shamanesque than warrior. And there are many actual parallels between him and a shaman that's seen later on. In the south and west of the Germanic area, it was seen as Odin who decided who won and lost battles. Oop, too hard. So he made the decisions. He was the all-knowing, deciding who should and should not win a battle. She's pretty crazy. We're gonna make a hammer. Oh, where'd they go? I heard noises. We need to get ready for night. Then I will move on to the next bit. Just make sure you guys, if you have a chance, if you want to be supportive, go check out the website. It really is super fascinating, and they have so much information. With this tool, you raise mighty halls and towering fortifications. Start by building a workbench. That in turn will enable you to construct other things. Let's go ahead and build a workbench and a little hut over here so we can survive the night. Build mode. There we go. Of course, he's gonna want to talk to us again. Hello, Huggins. The workbench allows you to craft complex items as well as giving you access to lots of more building pieces to construct with the hammer. And let's build. Okay, so we're gonna need a fire, and we're gonna need a small building. Let's start with the building first. I love the building in this game. Actually, I generally love this game. And we can put another row here. And one more here. Look, we have a floor. We're gonna put the fire right there. So we'll start building walls. I always make the walls extra high. Because I don't... Oh shoot, how do I don't remember how to turn. Oopsies. Nope, that wasn't how I turned. I always like to build the walls extra high, because otherwise it feels claustrophobic. You know what? We're just gonna do thatch roof instead of walls. No, wait, no. We'll do one layer walls, then do roof. Walls. It's left trigger and right stick. There we go. Two, three, four. Oh, I'm out of wood. Okay, gonna go get more wood. So to continue on, Odin had his Valkyries bring bodies of fighters from the battlefield to Valhalla. It was generally people who he saw as worthy, great warriors, poets, and magicians. The fighters themselves from the battlefield were known as Eknijar. Eknijar? I'm terrible at pronouncing these Norse words. And they become Odin's strike force against the Netherworld during Ragnarok. So the people he deemed worthy, he collected in order to fight the end of the world. It also mentions in his myths that he is the leader of the Wild Hunt, which you may know from other games like Witcher, amongst other things. In the Wild Hunt, it kind of shows that he has this natural connection between recruiting from the battlefield and being the leader of the dead. I need to go fix my thing. There's a lot of dead and death theme when it comes to this stuff, I never realized just how interconnected it was until I started looking deeper into the myths. I'm getting hit. Okay, got it. Where was the tree? There it is. Oh yes. A little more detail on the Wild Hunt. It actually is a Germanic myth that centers around a array of dead that ride on a storm. And the leader of this, of course, is Odin, which just adds extra morbidity and storms. Odin is also known as the god of poetry. This comes about through his knowledge of runes and magic. So he becomes also the god of poetry. Uh-oh, it's almost nighttime. I haven't built anything yet. Okay, let's get a roof up. What's this and this? There we go. So Odin's considered the most skilled and knowledgeable of all the gods. And with this, he actually uses his magic to see into the future and catch glimpses of the future. Makes the all-knowing part expected. There we go. What am I missing for a fire? I don't have enough stones? Oops. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Odin's attributes. What's he attributed to in the mythology and seen using or a part of him? So generally he's recognized by the hat and the cloak, the long beard, and, you know, the singular eye. And I think when you think of Odin, you see him in that sense more than any others. Other things that are used as attributes to him is his ring Japnir, which drips and forms 8 new rings every 9 nights. I thought that was a really interesting addition because you don't expect it. Oh, Hagen wants to talk to us again. Be wary of the weather. When the temperature drops at night, you're wet, you will suffer from being cold. It reduces stamina regeneration. Seeking shelter by an open flame is your best option when this happens. That'd be wonderful if I could find some stones. Oh, is that a stone? No, it's a branch. Okay. Another thing that's attributed to him is his horse, Sleipnir. And, like, the big thing about noticing Sleipnir is it has 8 legs. It makes it, like, the fastest horse known to mankind. Um, Another major thing, which you'll notice especially in this game, is the two ravens. Huggins being one of them, which we see constantly in this. The other one is Moonin, which Huggins actually mentioned a little bit ago. The two, just hold still. Let me hit you. I found a stone. The two ravens means Huggins means thought, and Moonin means wisdom. So symbolically, they are very significant to Odin, since he is considered the most thoughtful and wise of all the gods. He uses his ravens to fly around and gather news and insight. And then they just return and sit on his shoulder and tell him everything. So it's a very unique, interesting thing that I've seen copied in a lot of later stuff. And an obvious thing that comes from him having the two ravens is he becomes known as the Raven God. It's just the connection between ravens and the battlefield, and having ravens follow him and give him news and insight. So he is known as the Raven God. And this works with the battlefield perspective, that he is this all-knowing warrior, and ravens are on the battlefield where he takes all his warriors. There's a few others that can be linked to Odin, like the Valkyries and the Royals Giri and Freki, something like that. There's also a possible connection between him and eagles and snakes, due to the shamanic aspect of his existence, the magic, all-knowing aspect. Ooh. Oh, no, 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 no. Die. 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 There we go. Okay. As I was saying. So, after that, we should move on to what his myths are about, and where his mythology in general. Most dangerous things in this game are the trees. Don't destroy my house. Okay. So, in Odin mythology, one of the biggest issues is there's really not a lot of mythology left, Norse mythology left for us to know. Not from the Viking Age in general. What we have is kind of very fragmented. So, out of what's left, the most common people are Odin, Thor, and Loki. Those are the most prominently featured in the myths and legends. And, of course, getting into it, the main Odin myth is before the creation of the world, Buri, who is the forefather of the gods, appeared out of ice. And his son Bor and the giant daughter Bestala sired Odin and his brothers. The three brothers slew the giant Ymir, and from his skin created the earth, and from his skull created the sky, and his bones were used to make mountains, and his blood made the sea. Afterwards, they shaped the first human couple, Ask and Imbala. They were either shaped out of wood or trees. So the first major myth you see Odin in is literally the creation of man and the creation of the world. Yay! Okay. Headrest for the weary. Sleep the night away in your bed and awaken feeling refreshed and full of energy. Another improvement to your house would be some chests where you can store items. It is a good practice to always have some spare equipment if something unfortunate should happen to you while exploring. Oh, and we're actually able to go to sleep for the night. Another myth that's discussed is how Odin receives his knowledge. So he gets his knowledge from Mimir's head. And Mimir was a wise advisor whose head was chopped off and sent to Odin. So this is how he gains his knowledge, was talking to and asking for this, or talking to this advisor. Odin uses magic healing herbs to keep the head from decaying, so it can tell him the secret clues from the other world. The price for this, because there is always a price, is Odin's eye. This is a story that's where he loses his eye. So in the stories, it also discusses where his poetic skills come from. He is the god of poetry, though this is not seen as often. So his poetic skills are due to him stealing the mead of the skalds. In the story, he did this by sleeping with the mead's guardian, the giantess Gunlu, for 3 days straight. And at the end of the 3 days, she allowed him 3 sips of the mead. Of course, he was just like, oh, no, screw that, and drank the whole thing. And acquired his knowledge of runes and poetry. I'm sorry, no, just acquired his knowledge of poetry. After chugging it, he turns into an eagle and flies away. And this is where that he may be seen as an eagle comes in. I find that's rather intriguing. So, how Odin gains his knowledge of runes is another big one that I think you've heard bits and pieces of in different areas and different things. But he gains his knowledge of runes by hanging for 9 nights on a branch of Yggdrasil with a spear wound. It put him very close to death, and this gave him the insight on runes. And then the last major one we have, both in general and of him, is Ragnarok. Okay, this is good. So at Ragnarok, Odin is put to the test. It all leads up to this big battle. Odin has to face natural catastrophes, including a really bad winter, like horrible winter. And remember, this is very significant for the Vikings, who lived in a very tough climate. Fenrir devours the sun, and it heralds the coming of the forces of the underworld. Heimdall sounds the alarm, and Odin consults Mimir's head on what to do. And all the gods huddle together under Yggdrasil and decide on their course of action. They do, even with all of Odin's warriors prepared for the end, they do a good job, but are basically slew when battle finally erupts. And Odin's end comes when Fenrir crunches him to death in his jaws. Yeah, not a pretty mental image, but I feel it's very fitting for a god whose big thing is war and preparing for war. So I found that there was some different things about the belief in Odin. The belief in Odin was so widespread pre-Christian era that it's pretty apparent that his stories originated in the very early Indo-Germanic tradition. So we're talking circa 500 CE or even later. Because from 500 CE, there are carvings depicting a figure of a god holding a spear that is very possibly likely linked to Odin. Also from time periods are carvings and likenesses that show up alongside birds and warriors. There isn't really a whole lot of stuff from that era, so there isn't a whole lot of proof on how widespread the belief in him is or was. One thing that has been noted is almost all human sacrifice sites were linked to Odin and Odin in general. There really wasn't any other proof. He very well could have just been a big part of just a small portion of people, or he could have also him and his myths could have been everywhere. It's impossible to know nowadays, but as Hollywood has glamorized the Viking way, his myths are definitely getting a reboot, and I think they're here to stay for quite some time now. That's the info I have for you on Odin. If you guys had any thoughts, comments, or questions, make sure you leave them. Thank you so much to worldhistory.org for giving me the info and then allowing me to use it in my streams. It's a massive help. And I think that's it, guys. Let's see, how long have we been streaming? 45 minutes? It's not bad. Let's do 15 more minutes of building. And we'll be off for the rest of the day. What do you think? I honestly love myths and legends. I can remember years ago just obsessively reading about them. The first ones I was obsessed with were Greek mythology. And as you're aware, that's where my information comes from. My personal character comes from. Is Greek mythology. But from there, I've read a little bit of a lot. I am by no means an expert. I wish I was. That would have been really awesome. I don't know, like, it was always just this part of my childhood that was massive importance to me. But I also really worked on learning religions as well, because other cultures, I think in general, fascinated me from the time I was young. That's led me to who I am today. And I do believe that. This is so difficult. Okay. Oh, did I get it? Maybe? I did! Woohoo! There we go. And then we'll build a fort like around this. And we can do some exploring next time. There'll definitely be a next time. I believe next week I am going to focus on Thor. I'll do Thor, and then the week after that I plan to do Loki. After that, I have to see what's left of the mythology, because I know that it's, in its core, it's missing a lot. And I want to make sure whatever I do it right. There we go. Look at that. My Viking hut. Make sure I'm not gonna die from smoke inhalation. Oh, I think that works. I love that that's a possibility in this game. If you don't make sure you have something for the smoke, you're just gonna mess yourself up. And now we build protection. I always put fencing around. And you guys should too, if you ever play this game. Because fencing is absolutely a lifesaver in this game. There we go. Oh, can't go any further that way. Can I go this way? Yes. Okay. Me. Good enough. Oh, we're out of wood. Go chop some more trees. I really hope you guys enjoyed this series. It is most definitely a big passion of mine. And we are gonna use Ariel while we talk about the next section as well. We're just gonna play Valheim for the Norse mythology, and then for each different mythology, we're gonna play a different game. I'm trying to avoid anything that is story-based, like Assassin's Creed, because I don't want to be too distracted by the story while I'm talking about a different story. Oh my god, I didn't die. I don't even know how I didn't die there. It straight on landed on my head. Where's the other half? Just disappear. Glitched in. Oh wait, it's right here. Home sweet home. Okay. Okay, we have just a little bit left of the fence. Let's go get some more wood, and then we shall be done. And we can focus on upgrading everything and getting ready to take out the first boss. I don't know if we're gonna get past the first boss. We shall see. This game is oddly soothing. There we go. Uh-oh. It's, that way. I'm getting myself lost. Almost there. Not what I was trying to do. Alright, just a little more. Almost there. One more tree ought to do it. Which is good, because it puts us just about at an hour. I wonder if they had songs for chopping logs. Breaking my back just to chop this log. 17 wax, and I've had it with this. Okay, good enough. Alright, we are done. Look at that. We've got a place built, we have a fire, we have a wall, and a bed. We are rocking and rolling. Woohoo! Okay, guys. Thank you so much for joining the stream. I hope you learned something. I know I did when I looked it up. I really enjoyed all of it. It had been a very long time since I've looked up anything to do with any myths. All right, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Make sure you check out the video on YouTube, because this one's definitely going up on YouTube. And have a lovely day.